China travel prep is not as hard as people make it sound. Most China travel guides make this sound too complicated. You start reading one guide, then another guide, and suddenly you have a list of apps, payment tools, SIM cards, visa rules, train tickets, hotel notes, map apps, plug adapters, and it starts to feel like you are preparing for a completely different planet. But maybe there is a simpler way to look at it. And just to be clear, this is not meant to be an official checklist. It is more like a practical way to organize the prep before a first trip. Maybe a lot of people are starting from the wrong question. The biggest question is not, how many apps do I need? The real question is, will my phone still work when I get there? Because once your phone works, China becomes much easier. If there's one thing worth doing before a first trip to China, it is this: set up your VPN before you fly, not after you land, not when you're already at the airport, not when you're tired holding your luggage and trying to figure out why something on your phone will not load. Before you fly. But I found they often put it in the middle of a long checklist, like it is just one more small task. Maybe it deserves to be treated as the center of the whole preparation. Because if your VPN is ready, your phone can feel much closer to normal. You can keep using many of the apps you already use every day. You are not suddenly rebuilding your whole digital life just because you landed in China. And this is where people get stressed. They think they need to download 20 Chinese apps, learn a whole new system, and prepare every tiny detail before they leave. Maybe that is not the best starting point. First, make your phone usable. Then add the China specific tools that are actually useful. After VPN, the next thing is mobile data. And this is another place where people overthink it. As far as I know, there are three common choices. If you know another good option, feel free to let me know. International roaming, travel eSIM, or a mainland China SIM card. It may be better not to treat these like three totally different travel plans. The way I understand it, there are mostly three ways to get internet on your phone. If you use international roaming from your own mobile provider, your phone often works more like it does at home. You keep your number, you use your usual network plan, and you mainly just need enough data. If you use a travel eSIM, it can also be very smooth for tourists, but it may be better to check with the eSIM provider before buying because I think different eSIM products can work differently. If you buy a mainland China SIM card, that can be useful too, especially if you want local data or a Chinese number. But this is the option where VPN preparation matters even more. If you are using a China based network and you want your usual apps to work normally, you really do not want to be setting up VPN for the first time after you arrive. A simpler way to think about it is roaming, eSIM, and China SIM are data choices. VPN is more like the safety layer that keeps your phone usable. Even if you are not sure which data option you will choose, set up VPN before you leave. That one step gives you a lot more flexibility later. Once your phone setup is handled, then you can think about apps. But again, it may be better not to download every app someone mentions online. For a first trip, maybe focus on the apps that solve real moments. First, maybe start with payment. Alipay and WeChat Pay are the big ones. In China, QR code payment is everywhere, so having both ready can make daily life much easier. And for visitors, it may be better to think of WeChat mainly as a payment tool first, not necessarily as a chatting app. And then rides. Didi is useful when you have luggage, arrive late, or just want a clearer way to get from one place to another. Airport taxi queues are also an option, but it is nice to have more than one option. Next, bookings. Trip.com is useful because it works in English and can help with hotels, trains, and flights. For a first time visitor, that simplicity is worth a lot. And last, maps. Google Maps can also work if your phone setup is ready, but it may be better to prepare one more option just in case, like Apple Maps or A Map. Test this before the trip, not when you are already standing on the street trying to decide which direction to walk. The point is not to collect apps. The point is to cover the moments that actually happen. How do I pay? How do I get to my hotel? How do I book or check my trip? How do I find my way around? If those four things are covered, you are already much more prepared than the average travel guide makes it sound. After the phone and app setup, the rest becomes much more like normal travel planning. First, it is worth checking entry rules. This is not a part to guess. Check whether your passport has 30-day visa free entry, whether your route could qualify for 240-hour transit visa free entry, or whether you need a tourist visa. This may not be the most exciting part of trip planning, but it is one of the few parts where being casual can create real problems. Second, save your hotel details. Before you arrive, save your hotel name, the Chinese address, and the phone number. This is useful for taxi drivers, airport staff, or anyone helping you on the ground. It is one of those tiny things that feels boring before the trip and very useful when you actually need it. Third, think about transport. If you are moving between cities, check whether high speed rail or flights make more sense. China is huge, and the best option depends on the route. Sometimes the train is easier, sometimes flying is better. For city transport, it is worth checking the subway too. In many Chinese cities, the subway is clean, cheap, and often easier than sitting in traffic. Fourth, check your plug adapter. The main thing is the plug shape. Voltage is usually not a big issue for modern phone and laptop chargers, but the plug shape may be different from your country. So check it once and bring an adapter if you need one. None of this is complicated. It only becomes stressful when everything is mixed together into one giant list with no order. If all of this becomes one simple map, it could look like this. Start with your phone. Set up VPN before you fly. Choose how you will get mobile data, roaming, travel eSIM, or mainland China SIM. Then prepare the few apps that solve real daily problems: payment, rides, bookings, and maps. After that, check entry rules. Save your hotel address in Chinese. Plan your first transport from the airport and bring the right plug adapter. Oh, and one more thing people sometimes forget. If you plan to visit very famous attractions, book tickets in advance when you can. It is not something you need to panic about every day, but if you arrive and tickets are already sold out, that is a pretty disappointing problem to have. That is the structure that makes the most sense to me. Not download every app, not prepare for every possible situation. For me, the goal would be simple. Make sure your phone works, your payment works, your entry plan makes sense, and your first day is not confusing. If those things are prepared, traveling in China becomes much less intimidating than most guys make it sound.